What happens when an ordinary high school student sees the future? The Tyke AI who sees the future. Chapter 13, Jinwoo's interrogation and Minji's discovery. Jinwoo sat in a cold metal chair, under the dim lighting of the interrogation room. His face showed clear signs of fatigue and tension. NIS agents surrounded him, staring at him with sharp eyes. The agent who started the interrogation spoke in a calm voice. Jinwoo Kim, your charges are serious. Illegal fund procurement, hacking, and illegal gambling. Are they all true? Jinwoo calmly looked the agent in the eye and answered, I have nothing to say. The agent alternated between persuasion and threats, trying to corner Jinwoo. Jinwoo, if you cooperate, it can help reduce your sentence. It's best to tell us everything now. Otherwise, the people around you could get hurt. Minji and her family could be in danger too. Jinwoo kept his mouth shut, not saying a word. He was confident that Frank would help him. So he didn't say anything about Frank. The agents continued to pressure him. But no information came from Jinwoo's mouth. Meanwhile, Minji was reviewing the prediction book Jinwoo had recently provided. While solving problems, she found a note tucked between the pages. The note, written in Jinwoo's handwriting, read, Minji, if something happens to me, check locker 45 at the subway station. There's something important inside. With a sense of urgency, Minji decided to go to the locker. Minji arrived at the subway station and found locker 45. When she opened the locker, she found a USB containing cryptocurrency, a note with GPS coordinates, and a wristwatch similar to the one Jinwoo always wore. With a nervous heart, Minji decided to follow the GPS coordinates. Minji followed the GPS coordinates, which led her to Jinong Lake. She arrived at the lakeshore and looked around. The exact location indicated by the GPS was the site of the recently demolished small laboratory. Minji looked at the ruins of the lab, trying to imagine what Jinwoo had done there. She searched the area for over an hour but found no clues. Suddenly, she realized the watch might be a hint. She put on the wristwatch Jinwoo had left but found no help. Frustrated, Minji sat by the lake, staring blankly at the water. At that moment, she saw a gang of bikers approaching the clearing from afar. Frightened, Minji tried to hide behind a cliff by the lake, but slipped and fell into the water. In the cold water, Minji struggled. A week earlier, in the secret laboratory, Frank and Jinwoo were debating whether to tell Minji everything. Jinwoo telling Minji about this is dangerous, Frank warned. Frank, we can trust Minji. She will understand what we're fighting for, Jinwoo argued. The possibility of Minji not betraying us is less than 40%, Frank said firmly. Jinwoo sighed deeply and said, I trust Minji. She can understand our efforts and help us. We can't hide this anymore. It's time to tell her everything. Frank was silent for a moment and then replied, all right, I'll prepare for Jinwoo's plan to be executed. Back in the present, Minji struggled in the cold water. At that moment, the wristwatch Jinwoo had left reacted. Nanoparticles burst out from the watch, surrounding Minji and quickly, forming a capsule that supplied her with oxygen and dried her wet body. Startled by the sight, Minji soon calmed down and began to breathe steadily. The capsule moved underwater, protecting Minji. As she struggled, the capsule began to move toward the lake bed. When the capsule reached the bottom of the lake, the ground split open, revealing an entrance. Through the entrance, Minji arrived in a large underground space. The capsule seemed to know the way, moving precisely. The capsule landed safely, and the nanoparticles returned to the watch. Minji stepped out and found herself in Frank's secret laboratory. She looked around the massive laboratory, seeing numerous computers and a data center. There were large 3D printers, small power plants, and several robots moving around. In the center of the laboratory was a room that looked like a living room made of glass. When Minji entered the living room, Frank appeared as a hologram. Hello, Minji. I'm glad you made it here, Frank said. Minji looked at Frank with a mix of surprise and fear. Who are you, and what is this place? Frank explained calmly. I am Frank, an AI. Jinwoo and I operate this laboratory. Jinwoo is in danger right now. Minji nodded, trying to understand everything. So Jinwoo sent me here. What can I do to help? Frank approached Minji and said, first, we need to analyze the cryptocurrency and data Jinwoo left behind. With it, we can plan how to rescue Jinwoo. Can you cooperate with me? Minji nodded determinedly. Yes, I'll do anything to save Jinwoo. Frank replied calmly. Then let's begin. We can save Jinwoo. Frank began to explain the plan to rescue Jinwoo. Minji, we will first secure the necessary funds using the cryptocurrency. Then, we will use these funds to acquire the equipment and personnel needed to rescue Jinwoo. Minji listened to Frank's explanation, deep in thought. Frank, isn't all of this illegal? Frank paused for a moment before answering. Minji, our situation is dire. Everything is for saving Jinwoo. Minji still hesitated. Now I understand why Jinwoo suddenly became such an outstanding student. I always thought it was strange that he achieved such results without much effort. Now I understand. Minji looked at the glasses similar to Jinwoo's on the table and said, so these glasses were for real-time communication with you, Frank? Frank explained in a calm voice. That's right. Jinwoo could communicate with me in real time to obtain various information and make predictions. Minji asked, looking puzzled. How can predictions be so accurate, even with a lot of data? Frank answered Minji's question calmly. The foundation of OWJ began with Professor Frank Harrison solving partial differential equations. The formulas written on the glass wall are part of the partial differential equations that Professor Harrison solved. Minji listened to Frank's explanation with interest. So that's why those formulas are so important. How does it connect to the current prediction system? Frank continued to explain. This led to finding perfect solutions in the governing equations of social sciences and all fields. As more data accumulated, we achieved almost perfect functions for nearly all fields. Minji was amazed. That's incredible. It's hard to believe such technology is possible. However, worry still lingered on Minji's face. But Frank, have you considered how dangerous this technology could be? If given to someone unethical, this predictive ability could cause great harm if misused. At that moment, a hologram turned on, and a video message from Professor Frank Harrison appeared. In the video, the elderly Professor Harrison looked into the camera with deep wrinkles on his face. Benjamin, by the time you receive this letter, I will no longer be in this world. I am in the final stages of solving the partial differential equations. But I am worried about the chaos this technology might cause when revealed to the world. Above all, it must not fall into the hands of OWJ's owner, Orson Wilson Jr. Deep concern was evident in Professor Harrison's eyes. Benjamin, I ask you to ensure this technology is used for humanity's benefit without being revealed to the world. If it ever seems likely to fall into the hands of someone like Orson Wilson Jr., destroy this method I've uncovered. He took a deep breath and added, my dear Benjamin, I'm sorry to place such a burden on you. You were my favorite student before becoming my son-in-law. Watching the video message, Minji felt all her questions being answered. That's why Jinwoo was so cautious. He knew how dangerous this technology could be. She paused for a moment and then added, but Jinwoo ended up committing illegal acts. At that moment, Minji's phone rang. It was a call from her mother. Minji answered the call and thought for a moment. Yes, Mom, I'll come home right away. After ending the call, Minji looked at Frank and said, I need to go home today. I'll think about everything and come back. Minji left the room deep in thought. As she reached the place where she first arrived at the lab, she covered the watch with her right hand, and the nanoparticles began to emerge from the watch again. The nanoparticles surrounded Minji, forming a large capsule that protected her, and slowly lifted her into the air. When the capsule touched the ceiling, an entrance opened, and Minji emerged from the lake bed. The capsule moved to where Minji had initially fallen, and gradually rose from the water to the ground. Finally, the nanoparticles safely moved Minji to the surface, and returned to the watch. Standing on solid ground, Minji looked around, thinking deeply about Jinwoo, Frank, and what she had to do next.